This is called What 3 Looks Like. On the signature, the symptom, and the sign. It opens with 3 quotes. Know what is in front of your face, and what is hidden from you will be disclosed to you. For there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed. That's from the Gospel of Thomas, Logion 5. Split a piece of wood, I am there. Lift up the stone, and you will find me there. In the Gospel of Thomas as well, Logion 77. The heavens are telling the glory of God, and the firmament proclaims his handiwork. Psalm 19. 1. The error. We have been taught in 1,000 ways and by 1,000 authorities that reality is hidden. That what appears to the senses is surface, and that depth lies elsewhere, behind phenomena, beneath appearances, accessible only through the right instruments, the right equations, the right initiation into the right tradition. Science says the real world is subatomic and invisible. Religion in its many forms says the real world is spiritual and transcendent. Philosophy, in many of its forms, says the real world is conceptual and abstract. All 3 agree on the basic premise that what you see, hear, touch, taste, and smell is not where reality lives. This essay proposes that all 3 are wrong. Not wrong about the existence of depths. Not wrong that there is more to reality than the eye catches in a casual glance. Wrong about the relationship between the apparent and the real. Wrong about what the appearing world is doing. Wrong about what phenomena are for. The appearing world is not concealing reality, it is disclosing it. Phenomena are not the surface of something hidden. They are the visible face of something that cannot otherwise be seen, and the visibility is the gift, not the obstacle. Everything is him. Everything is signature. Everything is sign. 2. What 1 and 2 cannot do. There is a structure that this project has been naming from the beginning. 3 levels of reality, not in sequence, but in simultaneity. 1 as the inexhaustible ground, prior to all arising, not depleted by any drawing from it. 2 as the constitutive encounter, the irreducible dual field through which the potential meets itself and produces the specific. 3 as the specific, irreversible, received consequence. This and not that, permanently landing in the whole. 1 and 2 are not perceivable. This is not a deficiency of the senses, it is the nature of what 1 and 2 are. The is ground, the 0-point vacuum, Tesla's primary substance, Wheeler's counter space, the ether, cannot be perceived directly because it is the prior of perception itself. It is what perception arises within. You cannot see the eye with the eye. You cannot perceive the ground of perceiving from within the act of perception. The is ground is not hiding. It is simply structurally prior to the act of looking. The can level, the dielectric field, the centripetal and centrifugal in their co-arising, the magnetic and the electric in their constitutive partnership, cannot be perceived directly either. You do not see a magnetic field. You see what a magnetic field does to iron filings. You do not perceive the dielectric encounter itself. You perceive its effects, the current that flows, the force that moves, the light that propagates. The can level is not hiding its activity. Its activity is simply not the kind of thing that presents itself directly to the senses organized to detect does level consequences. We are, in other words, the sense organs tuned to 3. We live in a world of consequences, of specific, irreversible received events, and our instruments of perception evolved to navigate precisely that world. This is not a limitation. It is the gift of embodiment. To be a body is to be a does level instrument for receiving does level consequences. But here's what this means. 3 is not merely the consequence. 3 is the only place where 1 and 2 become visible at all. 3 is their disclosure. The apparent world is not concealing the real world. It is the real world's only available self-portrait. 3, the signature. If 3 is where 1 and 2 disclose themselves, then the appearing world is full of signatures, marks left by the deeper structure in the visible surface of things. A signature is not an accident. It is the necessary trace of something that has passed through. When a hand signs its name, the signature carries the hand's particular nature in every curve and pressure. The signature is not the hand, but the hand is entirely present in the signature for anyone who knows how to read it. The appearing world is signed everywhere by 1 and 2. 1's signature in 3. Singularity, oneness, onceness. The absolute particularity of each event. This sunrise will not occur again. This conversation is happening exactly once. This specific configuration of light and cloud and atmosphere and the particular quality of this morning's air, once, irreversibly, never again. The onceness of each does level moment is not time being cruel. It is the is ground's absolute indivisibility appearing in 3. 1 cannot be divided. In the appearing world, that indivisibility shows up as the singularity of each moment, the fact that every event is irreducibly this event and not a copy of anything else. The arrow of time is 1's inexhaustibility signing its name in the ledger of consequence. 2's signature in 3, pairing. The grammar of two-ness woven through the structure of the appearing world at every scale, male and female, predator and prey in ecological balance, inhale and exhale, systole and diastole, day and night, question and answer, teacher and student, the 2 hemispheres of the brain, the 2 strands of the double helix, the 2 poles of every magnet, the centripetal and centrifugal in every vortex. You do not perceive the magnetic field directly. You perceive what the magnetic field looks like when it has organized iron filings into the precise pattern of its own dual nature. You do not perceive the dielectric encounter itself. You perceive the light that it propagates, the current that it drives, the living cell that it organizes. The can level is signing its name in every genuine pairing that appears in the world. These signatures are not decorative, they are structural. The appearing world is not arranged to look like 1 and 2, it is arranged by 1 and 2, and the arrangement is the signature. You cannot have a does level consequence that does not bear the mark of what generated it. 4. Phi, the signature made mathematical. Among all the signatures of 1 and 2 in the appearing world, 1 is uniquely precise, the golden ratio. Phi, approximately 1.618, is the signature made mathematical, the exact numerical expression of 1, 2, 3 relationship rendered as a ratio. Phi is defined by a relationship so specific that it could only arise from the deepest structural grammar of reality. A line is divided such that the ratio of the whole to the larger part equals the ratio of the larger part to the smaller part. The whole contains the larger part in precisely the same proportion that the larger part contains the smaller. 3 quantities, 3 levels, 1 ratio, all governing their relationships simultaneously. This is not a mathematical curiosity. It is the fractal law stated as a number. The fractal law holds that every 1 contains 2 and 3, every 2 contains 1 and 3, every 3 contains 1 and 2, each level reflecting the others in the same structural proportion at every scale. Phi is the ratio that describes a structure that contains itself at every scale in perfect proportion. It is the number you arrive at when 1, 2, 3 is asked. What does your self-similarity look like, expressed as quantity? And the appearing world answers with the pine cone. The spirals of a pine cone counted in both directions are always 2 consecutive Fibonacci numbers, 8 and 13 or 13 and 21. The ratio of consecutive Fibonacci numbers converges toward phi. The sunflower's seed distribution, the spiral of the nautilus shell, the branching of the bronchial tubes in the human lung, the distribution of leaves around a stem, phyllotaxis, in which each new leaf is placed approximately 137.5 degrees from the last, the angle that divides a full circle in the golden ratio. The proportions of the human body that Leonardo observed and Vitruvius codified. The spiral arms of galaxies at cosmological scale. None of these is decorating itself with an interesting number. All these does level precipitations of the same can level organizational grammar, solving the same structural problem: how to pack the maximum growth into the minimum space with the maximum structural integrity. The answer is always phi, because there's only one answer. And there's only one answer because the grammar that generates the answer is 1, 2, 3, which has its only one way of expressing itself, its self-similarity as ratio. The pine cone is not showing you an interesting pattern in plant biology. The pine cone is showing you the signature of can levels constitutive duality signed in the language of growth, available to anyone whose attention is present enough to receive it. A child who holds the pine cone and counts the spirals is holding in their hands the mathematical autobiography of the universe's own organizational grammar. Phi is the signature, the symptom, and the sign simultaneously. It is the signature because it marks every does level phenomena that can be organized by the can level's native grammar. It is the symptom because its presence indicates that the underlying structure is healthy and running its deepest nature. It is the sign because it points for anyone who can follow the pointing back through the can levels encounter and through that toward the is ground's inexhaustible self-expression. 5. Him. Here's what the eye trained to see cannot unsee. The appearing world is not concealing reality. The appearing world is celebrating it. Phenomena are hymns. Not metaphorical hymns, actual hymns, in the precise sense, expressions of praise and devotion and gratitude arising naturally from the encounter of the creature with the ground of its own existence. The pine cone is not trying to praise anything. It is not conscious of its phi spirals. It is simply doing what a pine cone does, and in doing what a pine cone does, it enacts a perfect expression of the organizational grammar from which it arose. The praise is structural. The devotion is ontological. The hymn is the life itself, lived in accordance with the grammar that generated it. Life, 3, is the celebration of 1 and 2. Not in addition to being what it is, not underneath being what it is, as what it is. The body is a faithful devotee of the spirit that organized it. The genie is the faithful servant of the lamp from which it pours. The devotion is not performed, it is precipitated. The hymn is not composed. It is what the precipitation sounds like when the is ground's grammar is running without obstruction. The moments of seeing this clearly are not mystical experiences in the pejorative sense. They are not hallucinations or projections or ego inflation dressed as insight. They are moments of accurate perception. Moments when the accumulated noun making of the ego system briefly stills and what was already present becomes visible, that the appearing world is, has always been, and can only ever be the is ground's self-portrait, painting in the medium of three-level consequence, signed with the can level's dual grammar, disclosing at every scale the inexhaustible nature of what created it. These moments carry a specific quality that is unmistakable and unrepeatable, the convergence of aesthetic, ontological, and epistemological certainty arriving simultaneously, each confirming the others, the beauty and the truth and the knowing arriving as one thing, not three. What is beautiful is true. What is true is beautiful. And the knowing of this is not in the brain. The knowing is the seeing, and the seeing is the thing seen, and the thing seen is the ground disclosing itself through the vehicle of this particular awareness in this particular moment. The ego's mechanisms for assuring certainty become irrelevant because the certainty is not of the ego's kind. It does not require assurance. It is what remains when the ego's noise momentarily ceases. I am humbled into nothingness, that everything fullness, all at onceness of perfection and order and grace. This is not a private experience. It is the accurate report of what the appearing world actually is when it is seen without the ecosystem's distorting overlay. It is not more real than ordinary experience. It is the ordinary experience seen at its actual depth. 6. What Thomas knew. The Gospel of Thomas, discovered at Nag Hammadi in Egypt in 1945, is a collection of 114 sayings attributed to Jesus, written in Coptic and believed to reflect a tradition older than the canonical Gospels. It is not a gospel of supernatural events. It is a gospel of perception. Its consistent subject is not what to believe, but how to see. Logion 5 states, "Know what is in front of your face, and what is hidden from you will be disclosed to you, for there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed." This is not a promise about eschatology, about some future apocalyptic unveiling. It is an instruction about attention. What is hidden will be disclosed not at the end of time, but at the moment of genuine seeing. The hiddenness is not in the thing. The hiddenness is in the quality of attention brought to the thing. When the quality of attention is genuine, present, egoless, undefended, what was apparently hidden discloses itself, not because it was concealing itself and is now relented, because it was always already disclosed, and the attention was insufficient to receive the disclosure. Logion 7:7 states, "Split a piece of wood, I am there. Lift up the stone, and you will find me there." This is the ontological claim stated with the directness that only genuine seeing produces. The divine is not behind the wood or under the stone. The divine is in the structure of the wood itself, in the grain that follows the tree's growth pattern, which follows phi, which is the can level's signature signed in cellulose. The divine is in the stone's crystalline structure, in the mineral's formation from solution, precipitation in the precise sense, in the stone's weight that expresses gravity's acceleration toward the ether's counterspace. Split the wood and you find the is ground's organizational grammar expressed in growth rings. Lift the stone and you find the 0-point vacuum's precipitation expressed in mineral form. The divine is not a supernatural entity hiding behind natural phenomena. The divine is the structure of natural phenomena, available to the quality of attention that could receive it. Thomas was not describing mystical experience. Thomas was describing accurate perception. The Gnostic insight widely misread as elitist or world-denying, is in its purest form precisely the opposite. The world is not the problem. The quality of attention brought to the world is the problem. And the solution is not to escape the world, but to see it clearly enough that it discloses what it has always been disclosing. Nothing is hidden. Everything is Him. The stones cry out. The wood has always contained what splitting reveals. The only question is whether the one doing the splitting is present enough to receive what the wood is offering. 7. The pedagogy. This is why the curriculum works through nature. The child who sits with a pine cone and is asked, not told, asked, "What do you notice?" is being invited into the is grounds self-disclosure in the most direct way available to the child's hands and eyes. The pine cone is not a prop for a lesson about mathematics. The pine cone is the lesson. The lesson that the appearing world is full of signatures, that the universe is organized by a grammar that expresses itself at every scale, that the specific irreversible received consequence in front of you contains the whole structure that generated it. The child does not need to know the word phi. The child does not need to know the Fibonacci sequence. The child needs only to count the spirals, notice that they go in two directions, notice that the numbers are different in each direction, and be allowed to sit with the question, why would that be? The question itself, held openly, without pressure toward a predetermined answer, in the community of inquiry, is the Can levels grammar running in the child's own consciousness. The question is a two-ness. The pine cone is a three-ness. The not knowing that the question opens is a genuine encounter with one's inexhaustibility. The whole ontological structure is present in the act of a child looking carefully at a pine cone and genuinely wondering. This is stage 0. Not as a preliminary to learning, as learning itself in its most complete and irreducible form. The child who has genuinely wondered at a pine cone, not performed wondering, but actually wondered, has been in that moment in contact with the is grounds self-disclosure. The curriculum is designed to produce that moment repeatedly at increasing depth across the 5 stages of development. The recognition that deepens across those stages is always the same recognition. The appearing world is not concealing anything. It is offering everything. The question is only whether the quality of attention is present enough to receive what is being offered. The wound, the ego's system's installation, is precisely the diminishment of that quality of attention. The ecosystem is organized around the known, and the known's operation is to see what it already recognizes, to process the pine cone as an object in a category rather than receive it as a disclosure. The curriculum is the systematic restoration of the quality of attention that the pine cone requires, not a new skill, a disclosure of what is already present in the child before the wound covered it. The appearing world has been waiting with infinite patience for the quality of attention that can receive what it has always been offering. The pine cone has been signing its name in phi spirals for as long as pine cones have existed. The stone has contained the divine since before any human hand lifted it. The hymn has been playing since the first precipitation fell from the is ground to the specific, irreversible, received consequence of 3. The curriculum is not teaching children to see something new. It is restoring the attention that allows them to receive what has always been given. 8. The sentence. Every essay in this project closes with the sentence that contains it. This essay's sentence is not one the author composed. It is one the author received from the tradition, from the moment, from the pine cone, from the Gospel of Thomas, from the is ground's own insistence on disclosing itself through every available vehicle. Phenomena are hymns. Life is celebration of one and two. The appearing world is the perfect metaphor for the unappearing reality. And the metaphor is not concealment. The metaphor is disclosure. Everything is song, celebration, homage, devotion, applause. And the body itself, faithful devotee of the spirit that organized it, is the most intimate and available hymn of all. Split a piece of wood, the is ground is there. Lift up the stone, the can levels grammar is there. Count the spirals in the pine cone, phi is there. Look at the face of a child who is genuinely wondering, the hero system is there. Nothing is hidden, everything is offered. The question is only whether or not you are present enough to receive it. Much gratitude.